So, the most important thing I can tell you, and I already said it once, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again and again, about the solicitation process, is that when you get to the end of it, your task is to get a decision. And the decision is a yes, I'm going to make a gift, and here's how much it is, and here's how I'm going to do it. That's ultimately what everyone, we hope, will do. Or it's a no, I'm not going to participate in this campaign. There's one other decision that's possible, and actually it may happen more frequently than we might expect, and that is, I need to think about this a while, I need to talk to my spouse, I need to talk to my tax advisor, I need to sit on the stump with my dog and think about it, something like that. That's not a decision, but it's a decision to think about it and contemplate it and perhaps even pray about it. But your task isn't done, and I'll say this again later, until you go back and receive the decision that person arrives at after that process. So the job that you have is to get a decision. Yes, no, or in a little while, and we know when they're going to make that decision. We're not going to judge a decision that's a no. Everyone has the right to say no, and everyone has the privilege to say yes. But every decision we get gets us closer to the goal. You look at this booklet and you think, well, boy, we can't even find all the 5,000 vets. How can we get this done? Well, first of all, we're going to get a long ways with the vets, and we're going to keep looking for all of them and hope they self-identify. Secondly, this isn't the whole campaign. This is the campaign that inspires the rest of the community. We're going to everybody in this community, every business and every foundation. Troy's working on some grants already. We're going to help with that. But this is the leadership component that's so important. Vets lead the way. And so the best help you can be is to go out and do a good job with this solicitation in this first group. Help find the names of others. We got more names. I don't know, how many names do we have? 1,000? Of vets whom we know. We know where they are. We know where they live. But we need 4,000 more names. And we're going to do a good job with this. This is the first step, and the most important step is we can take this and put it on the map. We're already doing great, I think, with our gift total. We just got to stick with it. I have to apologize, I get a little excited when I talk about this, because when I get in the room and see the faces in the room, and I look around and I realize then it's possible. This is possible. Hard? Sure. A lot of things are hard. Possible? Yes, because you're here to do the work. There are 5 steps in getting a gift. The first one is identification. I already mentioned the problem we're experiencing in that we can't identify the other 4,000 vets yet. But we've got 1,000 on paper. That's enough to get a great start. Second step is to evaluate. How interested are they? What kind of financial capacity may they have? And that's a real guessing game. Sometimes we have a better idea, and sometimes we don't. And who's the best person to go see them? And when's the best timing? The third step is cultivation. We didn't get a great turnout for our cultivation events, but we have been doing newsletters. We're going to do, and we've kind of ramped up to do some ads, but we're not going to do them quite yet until you're ready to go out and do asking. We got to get people thinking about this project and people thinking about, especially the vets, thinking about how they want to be a part of it. The fourth step, then, is to ask, to solicit the gift. It's not the first. So often we identify somebody and we go out and ask them for the money. No, we got to go through those other steps. But the fourth step is solicitations. And by the way, if I haven't mentioned it, that means getting decisions. Okay? The fifth step is recognition. Every single donor will be recognized in one way or another. Every single donor will be thanked for their gift after making their gift. And when it comes time to dedicate the building, every single donor will be invited to that dedication. And we'll find some neat things to do with that as well. But those are the steps that we'll be taking. We're in the midst of taking them. And you're going to be in the midst of doing the step 4. pretty soon. Getting the appointment. Now, again, the process. We're in a holding pattern. Air Force guys would appreciate that. Some of the others won't care. You're in a holding pattern. You got to take care of the difficulties that may be in place. But once it's time, and you'll be told when it's time to get the appointments, you make the phone call. Don't text somebody and say, I'd like to come and see it. Don't send them an email, I'd like to come and see it. Call them on the phone, or find them, see them in person, and say, I'd like to come and sit and visit with you about our project. Don't, in that process, get into the solicitation, and don't talk too much about the project. You want a specific appointment to sit down and do that, and do it well. Don't make it too casual. If you run into them in the post office and say, well, here's $100, I'll do it. Guess what happened? You just got bought off. Now, or they don't know enough about the project. Get the appointment, sit down. If there's a spouse involved, have them together. If there are family members that will be a part of it, sometimes elderly. Am I walking out of the camera?
Nope, you're fine.
Okay. So if there are elderly people, they may want children or other family members there to hear the story along with them. Make sure that you make that appointment to do it the best possible way and the most comfortable way for the prospective donor. There are 3 options to do the solicitation. The best one is face-to-face. My goodness, what we're going through right now with this surge and maybe anticipated greater surge after Thanksgiving, I don't know whether to believe all that stuff or not. There are going to be people who are averse to that face-to-face visit. There are going to be people who don't want you coming into their home, don't want to go out and meet you at a restaurant. My wife wished I didn't go elk hunting with my buddies and come home with COVID, because that was the only thing I brought home from my elk hunt this year. So there's a real possibility. There's a real possibility that people will say no, not face-to-face, not next to one another. But then there are 2 other ways to do this. If you, and particularly the donor, have the ability to use Zoom or Skype or some other of those are the 2 most prominent ones of those virtual meeting times, you can do a Skype visit. It's not as good as face-to-face, but if people are getting a little more accustomed to it, even older people, because that's how they talk to their grandkids, you know. But so you can do that, or you can do this on the phone, and we're going to talk about how you do it. Because all we're doing is having a conversation. So you set up a phone appointment, say, I'm going to call you on such and such a day at 2 o'clock, is that going to work? Call them up, we'll have the materials in front of them, and you can do that solicitation on the phone. When you get ready to do the visit, whether it's in person or not, you start with a little light conversation. The obvious conversation should be, especially if you don't know the person at all, find out when they served, how they served, where they served, and tell them your story, and tell them about your commitment to this project and why you believe it's so important. If you're person to person and have the ability to do so easily, watch the video with them. We're going to send that to them for the virtuals. And I don't know, are we going to send it to them before the face-to-face?
Yes.
They'll get the video before you get there. But still, watch it one more time with them. It will give you courage, and it will help set the scene. Then go through the booklet, the prospectus, as Tom did. Talking through, and they're going to point at this and say, oh, what about this, what about that? So they'll want us to talk about certain parts of it. If you don't have the answers, best answer is, I don't know, but I can find out. Don't make something up. I'd be prone to do that, but I've done it enough times in my life, I quit pretty much always doing that. But make sure that you make your own commitment, your own testimony to the fact that you believe in this project and that you have made a gift to this project. That's probably a question working in the back of their mind. You end by asking for the ask amount or range of gift that's printed in the proposal. And there's a copy of that on the last 2 pages of the packet that was given to you. And that will be prepared for you. It's the one that starts out at the top, says name, address. And as you notice, get down to the next to the last paragraph, and it says, we invite you to participate in this project and to consider a gift in the range of dollar to dollar. Be different maybe for everyone you're talking to. This is important. Don't say it like this. We've got you down for this amount. Or your gift amount is this amount. We're asking them to consider a gift in that range. And once you do that, that's 5 seconds. But you zip it and let the silence continue. If you start nervously jabbering, because you don't know what to do, because they're not answering, you'll take them off the subject. They win. The old rule in sales is he who speaks next loses. Some of you have done this, I think. So let the silence be there. If you're just about to faint, however, because of the silence, then the only other thing you should say is, do you have any questions? And leave it with them to ask questions or concerns. Now what can happen, it won't happen very often, but I bet it'll happen a time or two. Someone's going to say, what about these naming projects here? Tell me about that. We may have asked them to consider a gift of $5,000 to $10,000, and they're looking at something on that chart for $100,000 or $75,000. Say, well, that's the amount of a gift that will allow you to name either for yourself, for your family, or to memorialize somebody. And they may say, I'd be interested in doing that. Just take a deep breath, because you might faint again. And you say, that's wonderful. Let's talk more about it. But more than likely, they're going to respond to the amount that you ask. But don't take them off the subject. So they're going to have some objections, perhaps. And by the way, I'm on the 3rd or 4th page already of this yellow sheet. This is for you to read if you can't sleep some nights. This is the last 2 pages of these yellow sheets. These are some of the objections. The first one is, oh, cash is short, can't do it, don't have it all pledged up, just paid for this, bought this, paid my taxes, whatever. Well, that happens to a lot of people. First of all, this is not cash out of pocket, take out the checkbook kind of campaign. This is a Tom's already talked about this, a 3 to 5 year pledge option, commitment option. They can pay this off over 5 years, longer if they want. So you don't have to do it right now. Cash may be short now, but consider the options. There are ways to do this and budget it. People don't have all the money they need when they go buy their fishing boat. It's too important to get the boat in the water, isn't it? Tom? Yeah, okay. Tom and I like to fish. Excuse me. So that's the first thing to talk about. And there are ways to make this gift, and they don't have to give it all in equal amounts. They can not give anything this year and start their pledge the next year. Second one, I have to talk to somebody. I have to consult with my wife, my tax accountant, somebody else. Great. You should say, I would like them to hear the story too. That's why I encourage you to have the spouse or family members there at this time, so everyone can hear the story. But don't say, well, go talk to them and then let me know. No, you want to present that story to everybody else, if you can and if they will let you. No, that's way too much for me. I can't do that. Well, first of all, remind them it's a 5-year thing. But then you can always say, well, what amount would you consider? Or you could say, could you do half that amount? You batted the ball back on their side of the court. tennis player, and let them tell you what they're willing to do. Don't fight with them and tell them, oh, I know, Charlie, I know you got enough money. Don't give me that. The argument won't do any good unless you know them really well, but you know very well they'll get even with you later. You know, I'm not that interested in this project. I support the museum. I support the library. I support my church. I support Northern. I'm not interested in this project. Well, put their feet to the fire on that one. They're a vet. They know, like no one else knows, how important this can be. So you kind of stick to your guns and say, this is a really important. Isn't it time that we did what we can do for the veterans in our area, our community, and our county? However strongly you are willing to do that. It's not my decision. I don't make these decisions. And that could happen with some people. My daughter and son-in-law help me make these decisions. My accountant advises all my decisions about how much I can give. Get a meeting with them. Had a lady in Minot, North Dakota. She just died days before her 100th birthday. Wonderful woman. Had a lot of money that she came by because the oil companies tried to take her land away and her mineral rights away. And she sued the federal government who had the land. And long story short, had all this money and was very generous with it to colleges, universities, her church, all kinds of things. When my client went to visit her about a gift, and she was a good supporter of them, I told the client, I said, ask Doris if she wants her financial advisor there. And I'd known Doris for some years before from some other situations. So they did that, and the financial advisor came, and Doris listened to the story, and she looked at the financial advisor, and she asked her question to the financial advisor this way: how can we do this? She didn't say, should I do it? But she wanted the advice of how she could make this gift in the best possible way. And she did. $750,000. Because they let her take control of that decision-making process with the one person that could help her figure out how to do it. I need time. I can't decide this right now. You'll hear that a lot. That's fine, but when can I come back and receive your decision? And don't give them a big period of time to do that. Could I come back a week from Friday or Saturday? Which would be better? You know very well, for many of these people, you set that time about an hour and a half before you get there is when they'll sit down and figure out what they're going to do. They'll just, wow, we're all that way, aren't we? We'll put off our decision. So again, you have to force the decision. No, I'm not interested. I don't want any part of it. And if that's the truth, that's the truth, no matter what you've done. Then ask them, could you help us identify some others that are veterans in our area that we may not know? We only have 20% of them on our lists. Who else do you know that's a veteran that served with you, before you, or after you? Get some names. Try to get them to help you in some other way. And that's a sneaky way of getting them involved in the project, by the way, but it's also helpful. Can you stay on the subject? Lower the amount if you have to. Make sure you get a return visit. Arrange for a time. So important. Don't allow them to get away with, you know what, we'll decide, we'll mail it in. Or I'll drop it by the campaign office. It'll happen 10% of the time. The rest of it, just set up a liar's contest, because you've got to call them back and say, did you bring it in? Yeah, I just mailed it. And then you don't get it. You know, nothing good happens after that. Insist on picking it up in person, or having them drop it by to you. If they have to, they can mail it to you. Because your job is not done until you have a decision for each of your 5 or 6 or however 4 prospects you may have. And report your results promptly. Let Michelle know. Don't hold on to them until you get all of them done. This will take a while. And there are the acceptable responses. I already mentioned it. A signed commitment or a gift. Some people give you a one-time gift. Some people might choose to make a gift of appreciated securities. Some people may make a gift out of their 50 or their IRA, if they're 70 and a half. Or you got to see later. One response that I didn't mention, it's acceptable, I don't want to hear it, but if it's true, it's true. So Mike, if there's somebody all of a sudden you decide, really, I don't want to go see this guy, this isn't going to go well. Fine, just tell us, I'm not going to contact them. We'll get them to somebody else. But don't leave it lie around, they'll never be contacted if we don't know that. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay, steps, I'm going to go through this quick. Make your own gift commitment. Troy, you didn't put my PowerPoint in here. I had comments to this. That must be the one that you had originally.
You go to the next slide?
No? Oh, maybe. Ah, there it is. Thank you.
Sure.
That's a big deal. You have made your gift and commitment. Don't downplay that. What was that, 185,000 bucks? A lot of it came right out of this room in commitments. That's tremendous. We should hold that up, applaud it, and you should talk about it. That's a big deal. That says you're in on this. You're committed. Then you attend a training meeting. We're here, so you don't have to worry about it. You'll receive the proposal packets, which will include this booklet, a proposal which I pointed out to you, and this, oops, don't have a copy of the statement of intent here, but it's the pledge form, essentially. That'll be in the packet along with the DVD. So you'll get one of those for each person you're going to visit. When Michelle provides that to you, she will also send the advance letter as a copy of that in the packet. It tells them someone's coming to visit, and probably specifically who's coming to visit. So they'll know you're going to call them, and you call them within 3 days because they're expecting you to do so, and if you don't, it's a week, 10 days later, it starts to feel like this can't be that important. Sean didn't call me till now. And if you never call them and never set up the visit, you really kind of put egg on the face of the organization because you're not getting out and getting it done. Now, if it's an in-person visit, make sure you get the time and place right. If it's a virtual visit, tell them that they'll be mailed the packet with the proposal, and then you set up and confirm and send your invite to that virtual meeting. Then you instruct Michelle to mail that to them, and she will mail it out. As soon as she lets you know, she'll send it out to them. And I know your mail goes to Huron or Aberdeen or to Sioux Falls or someplace and comes back. So you wait about 3 days, and then you make that appointment. You hand carry your proposal to the face-to-face visit. Make sure if you do a virtual or a phone visit, you have them have the packet in front of them and walk them through the whole thing. Report date. We don't know when that is. We thought we did it a week and a half ago. But we'll set a date by which each one of you will be contacted to be sure you made appointments with all of your prospects. and then we'll set a time to follow up with you. And the reason we want to do that is because you may call somebody on the 4th of January and not be able to get an appointment for 3 weeks later. That's fine, but let's get the appointment. Set a time. And Michelle, you'll be contacting everybody, or that'll be you and Tom,
or they'll contact us, email us an update by that date.
Yep.
Of each of their contacts.
Right. They're to contact you first?
With their update.
Okay.
Yes.
What if you don't, you know?
Then we'll call.
Yeah,
Tom, yeah.
Tom.
They know where you are and they know where you live. Excuse me. So, I know that was repetitive, but that's how we learn. And did I mention that your main job is to get a decision each week? You can't do this without that. I don't know, how many proposals do we have ready to go? 75, 80?
195.
95. We needed a decision from every one of the 95. I guarantee you, if you get decisions from every one of these 95, if there are some no's, if there are some did not contact because it wasn't the right situation. If we get a decision on every one of the 95, one way or the other, we'll do just fine. Where we'll fall apart is if these visits don't get set up and they don't get conducted. Then we miss the opportunity. And we have to get this done because there's more to do. And there are going to be some of these people that you solicit will become people like you who'll go out and make other visits. We'll find out that they're really for this and want it to happen. And it can gain momentum. But your task is so important to provide this leadership. I can't tell you how much this will mean to the campaign as it goes on. We're going on with this thing for 2.5 more years after now. I'm just working the heck out of it. You got to get that done. You got to get it done. It's a great idea. It will serve for generations.